Hi, I'm Dr. Brian Thornburg, and I received a really great question that I have not yet addressed, and that is, how do you have a discussion with others in your community if you choose not to vaccinate and they vaccinate? There's obviously concerns on both sides. Those who are vaccinated, who believe that vaccines work, somehow magically feel that if your child's unvaccinated, that they pose a threat to their child, even though that's why they got vaccinated, was to protect them from people who are not vaccinated, and that's the theory behind it. But somehow your child not being vaccinated is a threat to their child. Flip side of the issue, the parents who are not vaccinated are concerned that the vaccinated children are releasing the bacteria or the viruses after the shot. They're shedding, and that will then make their child contract a disease from a not natural form. You're getting it from a vaccine-derived source rather than the natural disease. And so that has those parents scared. So there's obviously a lot of misinformation and fear on both sides. How do you have that discussion if you're dealing with two camps who really don't understand each other and are trying to grow up in a community and build connections between their children and socialize their children as they should be? First, I don't think it's a discussion that should be had between parents. We don't discuss health issues among ourselves outside of the family because those are just private matters. If somebody has a seizure disorder, a mom has a seizure disorder, and she's on seizure medicines, and she's driving your child to school, you don't know that at some point, if she forgot her medicines or, say, the liver because of something else like taking some grapefruit, all of a sudden they have increased metabolism, so the seizure medicine is not lasting as long, or they have some other metabolic problem that hasn't been identified yet that makes the seizure medicine metabolize faster, so then there's less of a therapeutic dose in the mom's blood, so she has a lower threshold to have a seizure, and she's driving your kid to school on a daily basis. We don't talk about these things, so why is it that we're opening up this discussion on vaccines? So that's my initial thought, is it's really not a discussion for public consumption. It is a private issue. If you believe that vaccines work, this is the exact reason that you're giving your child the vaccine. It's just like an auto insurance policy. If I am positive that at some point I'm going to get into a car accident, I am going to buy car insurance. And so therefore, I am covered, and it doesn't matter if the other person doesn't have insurance because I buy that uninsured motorist policy. That's what you're doing when you vaccinate. You're buying that insurance policy. But to what detriment? That's a different discussion, but I do want to make a note. You can go back and watch my other videos. But then for those parents who are not vaccinating or buying a different insurance policy, they do not want to administer the toxins that are in the vaccines. This is not a natural way for toxins to enter our body. We receive toxins through very traditional routes. When I say that, I mean through our mouth, through our nose, through open skin, where we have an immune system designed to handle invasion at that entry point. So those are all classic traditional ways to have something enter our body. But when we take a 1-inch needle and we inject it past our immune system and deep into a muscle, we don't have a mechanism for processing those kind of toxins that come into our body. The parent understandably says, I don't want those toxins in my body. I don't believe that there's long-term safety understanding of what these vaccines are doing. The US government has kept the vaccine safety data link private, so they would just tell us that everything's fine, but I don't believe that. And I think there's a lot of reason to have mistrust of our regulatory bodies such as the CDC and the American Academy of Pediatrics. I think there's plenty of obvious documentation that they are captured agencies, and hopefully that will change as we bring out the messaging more, and then that there will be restructuring and a reprioritization from these governing bodies so we can start to trust them again. But those parents that aren't vaccinated have an issue with it. It's not a place for a discussion inside the family. You say to grandma or grandpa or a brother or sister of yours who is an aunt and uncle to the children, this is our family's decision. I thank you for your input. We will take it under consideration, but we're going to make a decision that's correct for our family. And then you make the right decision for your family. And if they don't like it, they do have a right to say, we don't want to have our children play with your children, whether it goes vaccinated to unvaccinated or unvaccinated to vaccinated. You have that right to say, I'm not comfortable with that. There's nothing wrong with holding healthy boundaries if you're uncomfortable, but understand that has repercussions. We don't operate inside of a meme of vax versus unvaxxed. We are a complex culture with complex human interactions, and there's a necessity for families to be together. There's a necessity for children to socialize at certain points. There's a necessity for us to be tempered with our peers when we dialogue inside of the family. So that's why I said, thank you for your input. We will decide what's healthy and right for our family. That acknowledges that somebody else has an important idea while you say, I'm going to hold a boundary. this is our nuclear family. We're going to make the right decision. And then vice versa, that extended family has to hold a healthy boundary with you and say, I appreciate that you are not going to vaccinate and you made the right decision for your family, but then I choose not to come around. And that's just where we're at, and everybody has to respect that because we can't have our cake and eat it too. Hopefully that explains how to have these dialogues. It's really up to you, but I don't think it's an appropriate inner family dialogue. And inside of a family, I think that everybody has to learn how to hold healthy boundaries and respect the autonomy of everybody because nobody likes to be owned. Thanks.